Welcome back to the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. I'm Alice Stockton Rossini. Ever come face to face with a mountain lion and live to tell about it? Well, William D. Bymaster did. He's a consulting engineer who says he's done the most environmental and building science fieldwork of anyone who has ever been in the due diligence industry. The name of his book, I Am Not Dead Yet, a true story, and salute to Montana, her people, and the power of prayer. Now, would you consider yourself an environmentalist of sorts?
No, I am not an environmentalist in the least. I'm a Montanan.
That's funny.
We are not environmentalists at all.
So what does that make you?
It's quite the opposite, actually. Our clients are like Fortune 500 kind of people, Donald Trump, those kind of people. Government makes them do certain things before they can get loans to develop whatever property they want to develop. And part of the due diligence is getting them to that point that it shows that what they're proposing to do will not have a negative effect on the earth or humanity or anything like that.
Okay.
So we're another checklist for the government, maybe, or whoever's lending the money. They want to make sure they're not lending money on something that's going to cost more to clean up than it's worth.
So you're just following the laws. Do you think some of the laws are too much? Do you think we overdo it?
It depends on which administration, but government goes a little crazy all the time. I would say, there's a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Not for me to say, really.
Okay, so it sounds like you've had some interesting experiences doing the kind of work that you do.
Yeah. Pretty much about anything you can imagine.
I can't imagine. So tell me about your book. We've got strange, one-of-a-kind incidents that could take a guy's life on a fairly steady basis. This is what I'm reading your synopsis.
Yeah.
What kinds of things do you run into? What kinds of any stories in your book stand out?
Well, the mountain lion one does.
And that's the last half of your book.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the climax right there. I mean, not too many people have that.
What happened with the mountain lion?
In a nutshell, I was going from Kalispell, Montana, which is right by Glacier Park, to Hayden Lake, Idaho for work. And my phone told me to take a shortcut, and I listened to her and got myself in trouble. I got on where it told me to turn, I got on an old logging road that hadn't been maintained. It was in December, so it was, winter, but there wasn't any snow at the time. But by the time I got up to this mountain where they were logging, where the phone told me to go, it was snowing pretty hard. And I got the car stuck. There was not going to be any traffic. I had a choice either try to walk out about 14 miles or just sit in the car and die. So I went for it, and that's where everything fell apart. Kind of funny because two hunting guides were getting ready for the mountain lion hunt that was coming up in a week. So they were out scouting where the mountain lions were, for their clients were coming out. And they needed to know where to take them, the best chance to get a cat. So they were following this cat tracks, and the cat was following my tracks. And the cat eventually led them. I had, for lack of a better word, I had died and was laid in the middle of the road. And the cat, who knows what he did to me. I never did see him.
He attacked you?
He didn't attack me, but he peed on me.
What, did you lose consciousness?
I froze to death. I'd been dead for about 12 hours.
12 hours?
Yeah. Just laying in the middle of the road. I was not dressed for the part. I should have been golfing. That's the way I was dressed. And I had a broken leg. And I guess I left that part out. When I was walking, there was a tree that had fallen across the road that I didn't see the night before because it fell over during the night when it fell the snow. But I walked over the tree. It was covered 3 feet of snow, and I couldn't see very good. When I was doing that, I got my foot caught, left foot caught in a branch of, you know, a fork in a tree. I fell over backwards. I broke my leg. So there I was, 50 below, 3 feet of snow, and a broken leg. So it was not too cool.
And you froze to death.
In my mind, yeah, I did, of course, didn't actually die, but I was everything but dead.
But you clearly didn't die because we're talking. But that's frightening.
Exactly.
How did they wake you up? How did they find you?
Well, they followed the cat's tracks, and then they saw me with their headlights. This was out 4 a.m, and I sat up, scared the hell out of them, scared the kids. They thought they found a dead body, laying in the road. There was no reason I would sit up. But just the lights from their car were, 5 feet from me, scared the daylights out of me too. But frostbite kind of had an important part because I never had any frostbite. And when they had me in the ambulance, they were looking for frostbite because I should have had some by all rights. My kidney and my liver shut down. That rhabdo, I forget the real name for him. The short name is rhabdo. And kidneys, liver shut down, but I didn't have any frostbite, which kind of blew their minds because I was out there. But it makes me wonder, what did that cat do to me? Did he curl up with me? I have no idea. God played a very important role in this too, but I'll never know what that cat did to me.
So you came back to life, so to speak, when the headlights were on you and these hunters found you.
Yeah, right. Their headlights right in my face, and I woke up.
Oh, geez. I bet you he did. How else could you have survived?
Who knows? It was very, very cold.
Jeez.
And
I guess you have some more lighthearted incidents in the book.
yeah, somewhat, yeah. How many people get yelled at by Ronald Reagan?
Ronald Reagan yelled at you. How was that?
I was sampling some wells on Andrews Air Force Base, and he was supposed to land that afternoon, but I didn't have clearance to be on the base when he landed. But on my last well, the keys fell out of my front pocket and took one bounce and went right down the well. So I have my truck out there and I can't move it because the keys are at the bottom of a well. And Reagan was trying to land, and he couldn't land until he towed my truck off the base with a tank. And he was doing laps around Washington, D.C., how they were trying to get me off the base, and I could hear him talking to. But anyway, Reagan was trying to land. He couldn't until they got me off there, and I could hear him talking about me, called me an asshole.
Oh, nice.
Over yeah. Well, he didn't call me directly. He said some asshole. He's got his car out there. The leader of the free world was doing laps around D.C. because some asshole was out there with no keys. That was kind of funny. I've been shot once. I've been shot at a couple times. I've had several guns put to my head. Got stabbed once. Got bit by a rattlesnake. All kinds of work stuff you can imagine.
Wow. What an exciting life you've had.
I should not be here. That's guaranteed.
Well, how are you telling people about your book?
Maybe just friends and colleagues. I was told you will not make any money writing a book. You got to do it for yourself. So that's been my attitude the whole time. It's for me. I wrote it for me. It helped me deal with a lot of stuff. I mean, because I still get emotional once in a while. They were going to cut my leg off because of the damage I did when I was walking on it. So I'm still happy just to be able to walk around a little bit. But I wrote the book for me. And so I don't care if I don't sell a copy. I just wrote it for me.
Well, whoever hears about this book, and hopefully they will through the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable podcast, is missing some great stories. Do you use Facebook? Do you use any social media at all?
My wife is on Facebook. I've never been on Facebook.
So is she promoting your book on Facebook and putting up some stories that are in it? And
Uh, a,
I mean, she could do a lot for you.
a little bit. She's from Malaysia, and so I'm pretty. People in Malaysia are pretty interested in it. I don't know about the rest of the world, but Malaysia, I'm pretty big shit. Uh,
Oh yeah, because of your book?
yeah, I don't know. Have you ever been over that part of the world?
I have never been to Malaysia. I just came back from Nepal a few months
Yeah.
ago, but
Okay. Well,
that yeah.
well, being in Southeast Asia like that, I'm an American. I'm pretty good size. I'm an average American guy, a little bit bigger. But you're the tallest guy by a foot if you go over there.
Oh yeah.
So it is pretty
Oh
cool.
yeah.
But as far as Facebook goes, I have quite a few high school friends that are on there. There's one particular girl that I went to school with. She's kind of being my marketing lady, so she will put information about the book on her Facebook page and on our high school Facebook. Our class has a Facebook page, and she'll put stuff on there. So my classmates and a lot of people from my hometown uh, know about stuff. But if everybody in my hometown bought the book, I would sell 11,000 copies.
Okay. Hey,
Not a
listen.
very big place.
Yeah, but you'd make your money back. So, what the heck?
Yeah, I'm fortunate enough to we don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. And so, like I said, I wrote the book for me, and if I don't sell a copy, that's fine. But it would be
Okay.
nice because the girl I was telling you about that from my hometown, she's a hockey fan and I'm a hockey fan, and we want to make a donation in our family names to youth hockey in our hometown. So that if we
Nice.
make any money, that's where the book money will go.
There you
Yeah,
go. That sounds like a
yeah.
plan. Hey, you never know. Now that it's out there, anything can happen.
I I always get a barbecue sandwich when I go to this one place in Spokane, and that played a pretty big role in my story because I got to eat that the night before I froze to death. But that barbecue place took advantage of it. They found out about it, and they've written articles about it. So there's those articles rolling about, and one guy who lives very close to me is Utah's weatherman at the radio station, and we back in about a year after my incident, his radio or his TV station interviewed me. So then there's that floating around too, but I doubt that has any conflict with what you're doing. They want to interview me again now that it's gone first circle and there's a book.
I would send a copy to the place in Spokane. I would reach out to the weatherman who was so interested in my story in the first place and say, it's all in print
Yeah,
now.
well, yeah,
Hey, listen, you're not dead yet. So anything can happen, right?
right.
You are William Bymaster, author of I'm Not Dead Yet. Thanks so much for talking to me.
Okay, good luck.
Mark DeAnda worked in radio in Sacramento and Santa Barbara for almost 30 years. Then he was a public relations officer for the city of San Francisco, all of which made for some interesting stories to tell in his book, Midnight in America. Mark, tell me more.
It takes place in two different places, New York and San Francisco. But as I worked in the heart of San Francisco, I really got to know it pretty well. So they say that you should write what you know about.
Mm-hmm.
And I know about San Francisco. I know about radio. And I also know about the shifting nature of political retribution towards the news media. And it's just totally pissed me off. I mean, when I got out of the business in 2008, the term fake news wasn't even around then. And if I were to have been in radio during the time when Trump introduced that, I would have been so pissed. Walter Cronkite would have been turning over in his grave. And I would have fought that, but I didn't, I didn't get the chance to because I got out of radio. So I was back in politics and, with the city of San Francisco. But yeah, that just totally, flies in the face. I mean, I never even heard that phrase before Trump invented it. And anyway, I started writing this book 7 years ago. I was working full time, so I didn't have a lot of time to put into the writing. I had a family of four, and I'd come home and from work and have dinner and try to write a little bit and go to bed. But I had this deadline. I said, I've got to get this book done before the 2024 election, because I think in 2024, I thought that Kamala Harris was going to win, and this era of indecency in the White House was going to be over. And fortunately for me, Kamala didn't win. And look where we are now. It's gotten even worse during Trump 2.0. And so, I felt like, wow, this is a real godsend, because it's getting worse and worse and worse. So the book, I think, is really viable right now, because it looks at the shifting nature of political retribution towards the news media and its potential consequences, which is what this story's about.
So Billy McKinnon, his life is being threatened by a demented American patriot.
Yes.
What's going on? How did that happen?
Well, what happens is Billy and his cohort, Sergeant Frank Greco of the SFPD, because Frank works there, he has some inside information regarding a scandal that's going on in San Francisco, where they're accusing the board president of having an affair with the mayor's daughter. And that's because they're trying to get the mayor to say, my daughter is not gay. And he has the whole LGBTQ contingent, which is why he got hired. And now they're starting to turn on him because they think he's embarrassed about it. And so they're trying to take that LGBTQ vote away. And what happens is Frank Greco finds out that the board president has been getting payments of $100,000 under the table. And he figures out it's because this is all a lie, just to totally screw with the mayor and his contingent. And Frank finds out about it because he gets some transcripts of some transfers. And Billy and Frank basically break this thing up, introduce it to the news media, and it becomes a huge scandal because the money is being paid by the president's super PAC. And so the president is in on this. And so what the president does is not unlike what our president would do, say it's all a lie and this guy's a troublemaker. And so he gets his base all whipped up, and he gets this one particular guy who happened to have an interaction with Billy McKinnon at a bombing of an abortion clinic. And he gets arrested because Billy sees a gun in his coat. So this guy from New York has got a hard on for Billy anyway. And he's also a meth head and an abusive father. And so there's a tragic incident in the story, very tragic, where he kills his wife and then goes on the run and says, I have nothing to lose. I'm going to go to San Francisco and I'm going to kill Billy McKinnon. So that's where the president's sycophant comes in. He's totally, on meth. He's a total meth head. And so that's basically the story. And what happens at the end is, I think, a pretty good ending.
Do you wrap it up, or do we have a sequel in the wings?
No, I wrap up this story, but the story will continue. My next book is called Robbie Nakata is Dead. And this relates to something from Midnight in America. Robbie Nakata was the district attorney, 53 years old, who died mysteriously, and a guy who was totally for sanctuary cities. And he's replaced by a guy who doesn't feel that way. He's more inclined to, give up the title of sanctuary city to appease the president. And this is based on a true story. In San Francisco, the DA, a guy by the name of Jeff Adachi, died at 53 years old, mysteriously during the day over at a friend's house, a friend of a friend's house who let him use her apartment. And he was with another friend, and he mysteriously died. And that has never really been dealt with. They've never really dug into this, but that's basically the title. Robbie Nakata is Dead is because that's the fake name of the DA. And I use that as a jumping off point because what happens there is Billy McKinnon is going to get back involved in another scandal that comes up. So, he's continuing his crusade as an investigative reporter, even though he's not allowed to report for his radio station anymore, because people are complaining, the right wingers are complaining that his stories are politically, motivated. So
Right.
they decide, because they're losing revenue, which is what radio is all about, is making revenue. They're losing revenue. They take him off the news, and they say, well, it was never in your contract to be a newsman. You're supposed to be our afternoon drive personality. However,
Yeah.
Billy McKinnon also doubles as an NBC reporter, and by contract, they can't take him out of that job. So he still gets to continue to do his investigation via NBC News, but it doesn't go over the air for the most part at K-Bay in San Francisco, because he's not allowed, because he's causing issues.
Okay. So Midnight in America, what's the significance of the title?
Midnight in America, it has to do with the bulletin of the atomic scientist doomsday clock. The doomsday clock recently forewarned that we are 85 seconds to midnight. That's the closest the doomsday clock has ever been in history. Okay? I take it a step further. It's midnight now. Midnight in America.
Whoa. Okay. So where are you going to talk about this?
It's been a soft release. Okay. We are going to do a major promotion. We built a website. I have my own personal website. It's markdeanda.com, where I prefer people to order my books from, because, I'll get the majority, I'll get the profit. It's already on all the streaming outlets. I'm talking to bookstores in the area. I'm also getting my press release out to TV and radio stations, and have a real strong advantage because I'm from Sacramento, and I was a well-known radio announcer here for a long time, and likewise in San Francisco, or Santa Barbara rather. Santa Barbara, I was on the air for 19 years there, and so
Oh, geez.
yeah, so I have friends in a number of different places. It's just a matter of sourcing them and trying to get some reviews. And again, I'm going to try to do some in-store book stuff, and that's all part of it too. So that's going to start in about a week and a half.
That's great.
Let me tell you something real quick, okay?
Okay.
If you go on Amazon,
Yeah.
and again, this is with no promotion. You go on Amazon and you type in my book, Midnight in America. Click on the book. There have been 4 reviews. They're all 5 stars.
Well, that's saying something.
And the one review said, if I could give this more than 5 stars, I would.
Oh, geez.
So I'm really excited about the major push where I get out on my email lists and TV stations, etc., because I think it's already getting great reviews. I haven't got a bad review yet. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Mark DeAnda, author of Midnight in America. Thanks so much for talking to me.
Well, thanks for talking to me.
You gotta love this pen name, Harley Knight. I caught up with Harley, a former attorney and motorcycle enthusiast, learning to be a Cajun in Louisiana. The name of his book, 10 Shades of Daniela, Motorcycle Missions, as in dating missions, right? So, all right, you haven't been writing long, correct?
Oh, no. I practiced law for many years, so most of my writing was stale and legalese. And no, I just kind of got tickled to try my hand at this as a result of writing for about 10 years with some interesting persons, Harley writers. So it kind of got me into this. What really led to it was I went on a 10,000-mile cross-country trip with a fellow from Bastrop, Texas, and we encountered all kinds of adventures. And it kind of struck a chord in me, thinking about, well, what would it be like if I was to do the same thing but date 10 different women in 10 different states in 30 days? So I thought, okay, well, trace that out and see what happens.
So is this part truth, part fiction?
Oh, it's very much true. It's the names have been changed to protect the innocent. some of the characters are composite, but some of the events really occurred. I mean, geez, the Aussie and the Kiwi. I mean, those guys were definitely real. Red Hot is definitely real, and Danielle is a real person.
You went on a wild ride, so to speak.
Well, I'll tell you what, I was really going to do it. And that's so I got on these online dating sites to see if I could recruit and see what was entailed with that. And I was all set to do it. And I don't know, then I met this Cajun and I started thinking, okay, you've done it in your imagination. She's not going to appreciate it if you really do that. So I thought, okay, except for Danielle, it's all invented. But the adventures, I mean, I've been to those places, and a lot of those adventures are descriptive of what happened.
So in the book, Harley Knight, your main character, uses dating sites to recruit 10 women in 10 states to accept an intimate and adventurous date over a span of 10,000 miles in less than a month.
Yeah. And, that's quite a chore for a 76-year-old guy who's been beat up trying cases for most of his life. So, yeah, that was just thinking about it was quite an adventure. Well, I'll tell you what, I really have been doing a lot of writing with Danielle. And so the parts about her and the places we've been, we did that. And most of those places that Harley rides through, I've ridden through those, so I'm kind of familiar with them. Some of them I stretched a little bit.
Take me through your book.
Okay, well, it starts off. A friend of mine had told me how a relative of his had been defrauded out of about $100,000 from these dating sites. And I thought it might be interesting for older people to see that, hey, you can still enjoy life even at 76 years old on a motorcycle. And you can have an intimate life on a motorcycle, but you need to be careful. So I started off saying, here's some of the dangers that are involved if you start trying to recruit people online. And Lord, are there a lot of dangers. And I ran into some setbacks on that, but I had a good friend that I would meet with pretty regularly. I changed the name of the place where we regularly meet with some other friends, but she's definitely a real person, and she gave me some insight on how to change my profile to actually attract some interest. So we started from that, and then oh Lord, it surprised me. I think I might really have been able to do it, but discretion is sometimes the better part of valor.
I like the part where Harley's being tracked by the ex of his first cross-country date.
Okay, well, she, after Harley drops her off, he comes to see her, and he's in a jealous rage, and he makes threats, and so she thinks she better get word to Harley, and Harley thinks, well, heck, I'm going all across the country. There's no way this guy's going to be crazy enough to track me, but evidently he is kind of a psychopath, and he starts tracking Harley. He puts a tracker on Harley's motorcycle, unbeknownst to Harley. And anyway, Harriet sends him a picture of what her ex looks like, and Harley doesn't think too much of it. But then the next thing you know, he's running into this guy, and it got to be kind of worrisome. So he tried different ruses to try to shake the guy, but it finally got to the point where it looked like the fellow was serious, and he noticed he was carrying a gun ready to use on his motorcycle. So Harley thought, okay, I really need to ditch this guy. So he ends up letting out most of the air in his one of his tires, and then he leaves, and 22 chases him and a friend, and they end up, if you go at high speed on a motorcycle with about half your air depleted, you can go into a death wobble pretty quickly. So unfortunately for 22, he ends up losing control and running into the ditch and severs his leg. But I mean, Harley's a decent guy, so he and his friends circle back. They apply first aid, call for evac, and 22 is taken care of. That leads to I wrote another book after that.
So at the end of this book, after all of these experiences with all these women, you end up with Danielle.
Yeah, ends up with Danielle, and she's the one. So they have all kinds of wonderful experiences, especially in New Orleans. But then just whenever Harley's life is finally seems to be coming together and he's feeling good and he really has ridden the 10,000 miles, he goes to bed, and it turns out that and it leads to a second novel. But
all right, don't give it away. So there's a second book in the works, but I'm wondering, you have contacts with all of these motorcycle clubs, right? You're a guy who actually does ride motorcycles. Do they know about your book?
I've got a web, it's not a web page, but I've got an address that I use to communicate with what I call gray riders. So I put the information up there, and we'll see.
And that's a Facebook page.
It's Gray Riders of the Texas Hill Country, and they spell it Gray.
All right. You are Harley Knight, author of 10 Shades of Danielle, Motorcycle Missions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alice. You have a great day.
Attorney turned author Stephen Rother delivers his second book for Fulton entitled Ice House, 2 Journeys of Self-Discovery, a historical novel. Stephen.
Hey, I'm quite old, but I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
Good
and
for
that's
you.
that's why I've started writing some books. Okay, I started in about 5 years ago. I wrote my first book.
Good for you. Is Ice House based on reality at all?
Oh, you bet it is. This book, it's the second one, but it's something that I have been thinking about writing since I was an early teenager in the 1950s. And that is because back then my parents had a camp in a remote area in the Adirondacks that didn't have electricity. And they had to buy ice from a local ice house. And I always used to go with Mom to go buy that ice. And back then in the 1950s, one day, we showed up to buy the ice, and the woman who was the owner was sitting on the front porch of the farmhouse opposite the ice house. And she said to me, "Steve, all my men aren't here today, but I know you used to go with them to dig up the ice. So you can go do it." So I went across the street and I started to pull out a block of ice. And what do I see underneath it but a rifle? So I pulled out a few more blocks of ice, pulled out the rifle and ran back across the street and said, "Look what I found." And she said, "Oh, you're so lucky you didn't find a dead body." And my mom says, "Are you true? Is that so?" And she says, "Oh, yes." She said, "You know that during the winter, the ground is so frozen we can't bury anybody. So we keep them there in the ice house until springtime." And it was with that thought, back when I was in my early teens, that I've been thinking about this and wrote the book that begins with all of that.
Wow. Who's your main character in the book?
There are 2 main characters, but one of them was a young man who was born up there in the Adirondacks, in that remote area, and he ended up going to Manhattan, became an attorney, a very, very famous attorney, a very successful one. And years later, when he returned north to his hometown, he discovers that his cousin has been charged with murder, a body found in the ice house. And that's when he begins to defend him and ends up learning a lot of things that he never knew about his own family.
Like who his biological father really was?
Yes, he did not know who his biological father was and only discovered it while he was doing that defense, using DNA, because while he was that very, very, very famous guy down in the city, he was the one that worked with Jeffrey Glassberg, a very famous person, who, by the way, has approved to use his name in this book. He worked with Jeffrey Glassberg to get DNA approved for use in courts. And so when he ended up using it to defend his cousin, that's who he ends up finding out who his real father was.
And he finds out he has a half-brother.
He sure did. He sure did. That's the other key character in this novel, who ends up to being the reporter of the local newspaper.
You said this Odyssey begins in Manhattan. It ends in Canada.
It happens that they discover the individual who was murdered was from Canada. And by the way, that's a famous person too that I've used. Someone who was actually murdered back in the 1980s, Michelle Posa, who was born overseas and came to Canada and was breaking the law there.
Now, the other character I see fell in love with a black woman who changed the way he thought about a lot of things.
That's the key guy. He ended up, while he was down there in the city, and she was working as an assistant in his law firm, and he fell in love with her.
And she had a huge impact on him, correct?
He did, because he had defended earlier in his career. He had defended many, many black people.
I see. So you're getting high marks here from the Essex County historian and Adirondack History Museum director, who sings high praises for your book.
Yes, Aurora McCaffrey. I had a couple of questions about historical issues, and I reached out to her to confirm them. And when she did that, she said, well, let me read the draft of your book. And that's when she came back to me and she said, oh, I have to endorse that book.
Oh, that's wonderful. Have you been able to take this book on the road, so to speak?
Oh, absolutely. The North Country Public Radio is now reading the book, and I expect them to be introducing that book and having me online with them as well.
That's great.
Yes, and then I have the newspaper editor who was one of the characters in this book, who is now there for that newspaper. He is reading it as well and maybe reviewing it.
Nice.
And of course, the local bookstore in Lake Placid, they have it now and they're selling it.
Oh man, that's great. So you're definitely on your way. Can I ask you how you wrap this book up?
The ultimate purpose of this book, and while I started writing it because of what I learned as a teenager, but what I have come to as an older attorney, which is the support of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. That is one of the most important things I think that people need to do today. And in this book, DEI is dealing with gay folks and with black people.
Good message. Are you going to keep writing, Stephen?
I have some additional thoughts of writing. I haven't started yet, but I may start that any moment.
You're an inspiration. Good for you.
Thank you much.
Stephen Rother, author of Ice House, 2 Journeys of Self-Discovery, a historical novel. Thank you so much for talking to me, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anita Khan is one busy woman. She's a real estate agent who showcases various New York City neighborhoods on American Dream TV, and she also writes children's books. Hey, Anita, this is your second one for Fulton entitled Annie's Lesson. No one thinks like you. Tell me your inspiration.
Well, basically, what I'm doing, I want to be an inspiration to kids and teach them moral values. So Annie believe is all my stories are based on actual factual stories. They're childhood stories of mine, and it's about expectation. You know, as kids or even as human beings, we look forward that when we do things for other kids or other people, basically, we expect to get it back in return. And this book is basically trying to explain that it's not the people that you do for, it's the people will do for you, and you should not have expectations. Once you do good karma, it comes right back to you.
So is Annie's Lesson a series of children's books?
I am working on it. I have 3 Annies.
So tell me about Annie's Lesson.
Okay. So Annie's Lesson is based on a young girl named Annie. And she does everything to make everyone happy. She likes to bring a smile and laughter in the room and a smile on each person's face. She doesn't like to see anybody sad. She's very responsible at an early age. So she's so used to making people happy, comfortable, and doing things for others, bringing wishes, making wishes come true, listening to people. You know, anybody wants an ear, she's always there. But then at some point, her birthday was coming up and she was hoping to be granted one of her wishes. And nobody was like giving her, I guess, the sense of knowing what she wanted and, you know, showing that kind of encouragement as if they're going to do something for her. So she feel like sending out a message in a diplomatic way, having a conversation with her parents at the dinner table and just voicing herself here and there with her friends and everyone, mostly her family, that they are going to grant her a birthday wish. And it wasn't happening. And she was very sad coming to the end. It's closer to her birthday and she's not seeing or hearing anyone say anything. But meanwhile, her parents were planning a birthday party, but the birthday party was never what she wanted. But they were secretly doing it to surprise her. And she wanted to go to see this, the Summit building. She wanted to go there. She wanted to have that experience. And that's all she wanted. And she keeps saying it and nobody was acknowledging her, that she believes. And then all of a sudden, one of her friends' mom planned the whole thing for her. So she got a birthday party at the end from her parents, and her friend's mom surprised her with the tickets of gifts to go to see the Summit building. And then her family and her went there, and that was it. But the whole point of my story was that don't have expectations, because then you are disappointed and you don't want to be disappointed. And when you do things in life, it's not the people that you do for that will do things back for you or think of you. It's the other people on the outer skirt that sees you the most. So that's basically what Annie Lesson is all about, is teaching of expectations and where and how you should have your expectations.
Yeah. And doing good because it's right to do good and not expect anything in return. That's a wonderful lesson.
Exactly. You know, it's like karma comes back to you, and it comes back beautifully if you're patient and you just let everything unturn on its own and not trying to make it happen.
Now, when we spoke earlier, you told me that you do watch parties in Manhattan for your TV show. Are you able to talk about your children's books while you're at it?
Well, I do have the watch parties, but my watch parties is mostly for my show. So I just recently started introducing the book. So I did the book signing on my last one. I got copies of my book, and I actually give away complimentary a few, like a number of copies. And I did do book signing. People are now being drawn to it. I think my actual goal and my intentions is now being heard. And a lot of parents that was at my watch party, and when I give my view of why I'm writing the book and where I want the book to be and what my goals and focus are about kids, a lot of parents came up and they were like, sign me a copy of that book, I want it. So I guess it's an opening, I guess. It's a
Yeah.
beginning.
All right. So what's next?
Well, I mean, I do have Annie, and Annie Believe is a young girl, the same Annie character. She is like very responsible, and she takes care of her siblings and all that. All these books are like, just focus on family. I focus on family, culture, and also, kids doing what we're losing now. We're losing religion. We're losing everything else with kids. So I'm trying to see if there's a possibility I can bring that back into light.
Well, it sounds like you're on your way. Thank you so much, Anita Khan.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
You are the author of Annie's Lesson, No One Thinks Like You.
Yes, and I also have 4 other books that is out there. I have Annie Taking Care of Little Sister's Trouble. I have Annie Believe, and I have a cookbook, Annie's Kitchen.
Great. Carlos A. Llorens is a nautical systems engineer. He compiled the contents of his book over many years from people he considers to be some of the most interesting on the planet. He also takes a few messages from the Bible. The name of his book, The Most Protected Secrets in Human History. Now, Carlos, you say your discoveries have been applied and verified, and now was the time to publish.
Well, my family mainly, my daughters, my passed away now son, and my wife, they've always harped on me to, share this knowledge with the rest of the world, but it was not mine. So I hesitated, but one day I said to myself, well, what do I have to lose by asking if I can write about this? And I asked. And I was told that it was okay to write about it. And I was not expecting anything in particular, but it surprised me that these individuals, they use this knowledge for, the power that they wield, and that they were okay for me to write about it. And I asked, why was it okay? So this one gentleman, he looked at me with a weird face, like, are you dumb? But I asked him, no, treat me like a kid and explain to me why is it that it's okay with you guys to for me to write about this. And he told me something that I was not expecting. He told me, well, more than 90% of the population on the planet is not going to pay attention to your book, so we're not concerned.
Who are these guys?
They're some of the super powerful elite class individuals. The super elite class is divided into 2 parts. The majority, which is about 65%, it's what is called the parasitical elite class, because they believe that the rest of the population needs to, be guided by them, since they are the ones that know how to manage a planet. The minority is 35%, and they're the ones that want the entire population to have access to this knowledge, and for everyone to pick and choose to apply it. So that's the people that I'm referring to.
Your synopsis says that you are in possession of one of humanity's most jealously guarded treasures.
Yes, it's this knowledge, this correct knowledge. Knowledge is everywhere, but the correct knowledge is not. And if you want to be a very good businesswoman, you have no business going to a very good bricklayer. You're going to become a very good bricklayer, but you're not going to become a very good, successful woman. So you need to, even though they sound, very simplistic in nature, these are some of those jealousy guarded secrets. It's, knowing how the gears turn. It's knowing what makes things really happen the way that they're meant for them to happen, so that we get the successes that we actually intend. So, the correct knowledge is what takes you there. And knowing what that is, identifying it is, the big hurdle that most people, they are born and die without really getting to know what that is.
Well, what is it?
4 steps to being successful in any area of your life. Who do you listen to? You listen to those people that have what you want, but they've been where you are. teachability index. How teachable are you? You're willing to give up the things that you love to do to be able to get this knowledge? Are you willing to give up time and money to be able to apply this knowledge? The training balance scale. The training balance scale is the first part, thinking. The thinking, it's the majority. You need to be able to identify and get to teach yourself and learn how to think properly. The other part of that, it's the least of the two, but it's the doing. What you need to do with this correct knowledge, how to apply it. That's the third step. And the fourth step is, 4 steps of learning. The first one is unconscious incompetence. That means that we need to identify that there are certain things that we simply do not know of. We need to acknowledge that. The conscious incompetence is when you are taught this new thing that you didn't know of before, and now you were told about it, and now in a nanosecond you realize, oh wow, you're right, I didn't know this. The third is conscious competence. That's when you're applying the thing that you didn't know, but you were taught. You're applying it. You were given a new address and you start driving around. Oh, well, you make a left here, or you're applying it. And the fourth is what I call autopilot. After 1,000 times of repetition of something, that certain something becomes internalized. And now it's like when someone asks you your name and you say your name, boom, right there and then without having to think about it. Those are the 4 steps of learning for success. Those are the secrets that I refer to in my book.
Do you illustrate this with examples?
Well, tell me something that you don't know about. You can't. You simply do not know it. So that's an illustration of the first step. You simply do not know something. You cannot say something that you don't know. The second is, if you like golfing, if you like fishing, if you like going shopping, are you willing to stop doing that for some time until you get to learn this new knowledge that it's going to give you the success you want? So that's the illustration of the second step. And the other thing about that is that what are you willing to give up to then do? Once you learn it, you need to apply it. Are you willing to also give up those things that you like to do to be able to then apply this new knowledge for the success you want? You must invest in CDs, books, seminars to be able to then reprogram your thoughts into thinking the proper way to be able to succeed in life in those areas that you want. So unless we educate our minds with the correct knowledge long enough for it to be internalized, which is about 1,000 times, by the way, we need to retrain our thought pattern. The neural pathways in our brains, they need to get deeper and wider with the correct knowledge to be able to be successful. And then we must apply it. We must do it physically. The doing, the physical touching and doing it, it's what educates ourselves in regards to that new knowledge, the correct new knowledge. And lastly, and those are the illustrations that I can give you for each one of these steps. And the last step, which are the 4 steps of learning, the unconscious incompetence, it's simply, the best way that I can illustrate it is that we cannot express something that we do not know. The second is the conscious incompetence. Is us being aware. Our awareness expands to the point where we realize, oh, wow, I really didn't know that. So that's the illustration for the second step of the 4th step. The third is, when we actually are forcing ourselves through the process of doing that thing that we didn't know. That's my best illustration on that 3rd step. It's simply doing that new thing that we didn't know before. It's doing it. When we were taught, okay, this is it. We didn't know it, but now we're taught that this is it. And then we begin to do it. And lastly, we have done it so many times that now it's internalized. It's part of us. It's part of who we are. That's the best illustration that I can give for the fourth step.
All right, some food for thought. Carlos A. Llorens, author of The Most Protected Secrets in Human History. Thanks so much for talking to me today.
It's my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, where authors from all walks of life come together to discuss the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of publishing their books. I'm Alice Stockton Rossini. We hope to see you back here every Saturday night at 8 o'clock, or listen to our podcast anytime on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and PodServe, just to name a few. The Author Roundtable is sponsored by ReaderHouse Online Bookstore, where independent new authors come first.